All right. So at this point, should you guys really regrade your PSA 9s with PSA, or should you crack them and regrade them with tag? So let's go ahead and talk about this. Honestly, I was super excited to I was super excited to want to talk about this for the fact that there's a lot of things going on with the Pokemon hobby that I feel like this information could be useful to some of you guys. One of my coworkers, I don't want to give out his name, but let's just give him a nickname and let's call him Angel. My coworker Angel came up one day because he heard me and my other coworkers talking about our Pokemon card collection and the things that we've been able to get, and he told us, "Hey, look at this! I just spent $850 for 9 cards, 9 slabs," and I was like, "Ooh, I hope they were worth it." He showed me, and they were the for 151. He got the Charmander evolution, he got the Squirtle evolution, and the Bulbasaur evolution, all in PSA nines. You know, and then he asked me, "Do you think that's a good that was a good buy?" At the time, I was like, "You know what? It is honestly for whatever reason, a PSA 9 is probably a smart way of collecting cards if they're really out of your price range. They're already encapsulated, so you don't have to worry about any external factors. So yeah, it's a good buy. And I told them I do feel like these cards will appreciate well with time. So if they do, you can go ahead and crack the slabs and then resell them because PSA 9s and raw cards basically go for the same price, right? So couple months later go by, and then I told him, like, "Hey, are you feeling better about your purchase? Because 151 prices are going through the roof." And he was ecstatic. Absolutely, they're crazy. Like, I'm super happy. Now he asked me, "Do you think I should re-crack them and then regrade them with PSA?" And I told them, honestly, no, I don't think so. I think you have more to lose than to gain with PSA, and that's even including the crazy profits that he can make out of this. But this is why I'm saying it. Luckily, whenever he asked me this whole entire story about the newest PSA scandal is not the PSA scandal because PSA usually has all kinds of scandals, but this one's pretty big because it affects everyday consumers, especially people who are not throwing big money into the hobby, but they have significant amount of money. Maybe this is their way of population control, but that is just my conspiracy theory brain of a millennial, right? Everything to me is a freaking conspiracy theory at this point. But I told them about the whole entire Deoxys and the whole entire situation. If you guys are not aware, it's just quick rundown cliff notes. A collector had a Japanese promo card Deoxys from the early 2000s. He wanted to go ahead and get it relabeled because the label that he had was the old PSA label, but this was a 10. So he went and sent it to get it relabeled, not regraded. Now, PSA went ahead, cracked the slab, and I guess in doing the slabbing process, they went ahead and damaged the price and sent an email telling this guy, "Hey, we damaged your car. We're really, really sorry about it. So this is what we'll do. We'll go ahead and give you 22 grand for the card. We'll waive all the fees and everything, but we will have to grade it as a 9, or sorry, as a 6, right? So from a 10 to a 6 because of their mess up, like their F up. And the thing is, he just went ahead and got it re-slabbed, not recreated. So if anything, they already admitted to the damage, slab it, put it in 9, make it up to him another way. The only reason why I said that is because like Ken Golden went ahead and re-slabbed the Pokemon Illustrator Pikachu that sold for $16 million. They went ahead to get it re-slabbed, and you guys have already seen the damage, the issue on that card. But they didn't go like, "Oh yeah, we don't feel comfortable giving this a 10, so we're gonna bump it down to a 9." No, they kept it as a 10. So unless you have really huge amount of money in this hobby, PSA don't care about you. They're literally waving the middle finger at you, telling you we're your only option. We can do whatever you want. Here's the money that we can give you. To add insult to injury, that card, the last comp that sold, the most recent comp that sold was through the PSA vault. So PSA was able to sell this card for 45,000, but yet they're only giving this guy 22 grand for it. right? So that's not even 50% of the value that they were able to fairly, that the card went for. And that's so it's not even fair market price. It's stupid. So I explained it to him. This is what like that's exactly what happened. So if you're really considering of cracking these nines, these PSA nines, and send them to grading, you have to be smart about it and consider what company you're gonna do. I told them the benefits of tag. Hey, the transparency is there. They give you all the information of when that card was graded, what grade it got, and what's the reason. It's not subjective. It's objective, right? So they'll give you that information. They're very transparent about it, and whenever you have a lot of transparency, there's like less shady things that that tag can't do against the consumer. It kind of protects the consumer being that transparent. So I told him all about that. He asked me, have you done it before? These are legit questions and these are good questions. And I told him, yes, there's been a couple of times that I've cracked PSA 9s and regraded them with tag and they come back as at 10. Because every single time I see a PSA 9, at this point, if I can look at it and I see the centering is already, like if the centering is good, that grade is a subjective 9. It could potentially be a 10. And I've done it multiple times. We're talking, I was able to get a PSA 9 and convert it to a 10 on this Reshiram, which also happens to be the box topper. Okie dokie from Shrouded Fable. I know it's not a very popular card, but it is limited printed and it is a legendary Pokemon. So good there. I'm a Japanese collector. So Drowsy and Tyranitar, same thing. I've been able to crack them, send them to grading, and those are regular hollows with no textures. And I've even told them I've been able to do it on Feraligatr, this Pokemon contest card. Nothing special, no hollow, basic card. It's a promotional card, but I was able to buy a 9, crack it, send it, and it come back as a 10 through tag. But I told them, there's a couple things you got to be looking out for. Make sure that your card has fantastic centering or good centering. The corners and the edges, you don't see any signs of whitening or edging. And then the print lines, make sure, like English quality control sucks, but make sure whatever card you're sending that you don't see any print lines. The only thing that will absolutely ruin a card to tag that people don't really talk about and it's really hard to see are impact lines where a card might have been banged against the wall floor and there's a line that runs up to the cardboard. The scan will pick that up. Or a dent will make that card an automatic 8. So I told them, like, so yeah, make sure that you have good centering, good corners, good edging, good everything. But if you're looking to do this, there's some potential gains about it. So let's go ahead and break it down. Because once I started my route, I started thinking, well, I want to give them information to kind of back up what I'm saying. So I went ahead and picked these 5 cards. I'm talking about for 151, the 5 cards that I went ahead and picked out. There's going to be the Charizard EX, the Blastoise, the Venusaur, also the Zapdos because it's a fairly popular card amongst collectors, and then the Mew EX promo card from the UPC. So those are the 5 cards I kind of want to talk about and then tell you a little bit about the rates, the prices they will go for, and what's special of grading some of these cards through tag. Right? So sorry it got this. It took this long, but let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go ahead and start with one of the most the last card that I mentioned, the Mew EX. And this is going to be my pick right now that the Mew EX down the road might be the most expensive card in 151, and I'll tell you why. I did a little bit of research in the gem rates for these 5 cards through PSA, and they basically have a 30% chance of these cards coming back as a 10. So 30% chance is not bad odds, right? Turns out, whenever I was doing this research, the gem rates for tag 10s are significant lower. And maybe you might thinking, I've been hearing in my comments, people will not grade with tag because it's way harder to get 10s. People will go with PSA because they resale better and then you have better odds of getting a 10. Fair enough. I mean, I understand if that's your approach, but the way I think about it, I would be comparing like, yeah, if you go for higher education, anyone and everyone can get a higher education associates from like a community college. but getting something very difficult with a low gem rate, I would be comparing it as graduating through like an Ivy school or a high decorated academic school. It's very different, man. Like, yeah, maybe the barrier entry is there, but the results they will show down the road. So the Mew EX. At the moment, right now, the raw card, you can pick up a raw card or a PSA 9 card for around $70 to $80. Depends on whenever you're watching this video. A 10 will resell for around 600, like mid 600 to low 700s. The tag prices always match PSAs. So you can turn a $70 card to around a $600 card. Well, why is that? Well, this card is a promotional card from the UPC, meaning it's going to be way harder to grade and to get a 10. And whenever we're talking about the gem rate, well, through tag, right now it only has a 15% chance of that card, say you sending it and getting it back as a 10. 15% so far is the lowest gem rate that I've seen out of the 5 cards that we talked about it. So try. Hey, so if you made it this far, obviously you enjoyed that kind of content. If you're a tag supporter or a PSA hater, go ahead and like the video. Maybe even consider subscribing as you guys keep watching my content. Honestly, I've been having a lot of fun doing so, but your guys' help would go a long way. So like, subscribe, and let's continue with today's video. So turning a $70 card to a $600 card with a 15% gem rate, my only conclusion is right now the Mew EX promo card in A10 is completely underrated. At 15% gem rate, that's extremely low. That's, a little bit more over 10%. So, take that into consideration and why I say maybe this card will probably be the most valuable card in 151, strictly because of the gem rate. If you want to go ahead and grade this card, buying a PSA 9 is going to be fair. It's going to PSA 9 or raw is going to be fairly your best bet, because if not, if you want to get the best version of it, you have to visually see it. If you have it in the UPC, I'm sorry, but you got to open up the UPC to see the condition of that promo card. But that's enough about Mew EX. Let's talk about the Zapdos. So right now, the Zapdos, you can go ahead and get a raw or PSA 9 card for around $100. If it comes back as a 10, you're looking around $400. So after fees and grading, and if you sell it or whatnot, you can make around a $200 increase in your own collection, profit, or to regrade it. That's not horrible. And considering that the Zapdos EX has a 29% gem rate within tag, you can see why. Like 29% is not bad. It matches PSAs. This is a fairly popular card. I think it's going to age fantastic, especially that the Scarlet and Violet did give us the 3 legendary birds and 3 different cards. Only Articuno was the only one that got shafted and not become a texture card. Now let's go ahead and talk to the big three. The big three. Let's talk about the big three. We're talking about Venusaur, Blastoise, and Charizard. Obviously, we're going to go ahead and start with Venusaur because that's the cheapest card right now from the big three, from the starters. A raw card will run you around $140 as well as a PSA 9, right? So $140, $130 to $140 depending on where you source it. A 10 will go for around $400. So once again, they're kind of like the same thing as the Zapdos. They're going fairly around the same similar price. You can still make a $120 to $130 card into a $400 card if it comes back as a 10. However, I do think the Venusaur should be a little bit more expensive because that card currently only has a 23% chance rate to come back as a 10. So a little bit harder, less than 25, way less than 30th than the 30% the average that you have with PSA. So I do see maybe Venusaur aging a little bit better, especially just because it has a little bit of that lower gem rate. But it is Venusaur, and personally, I'm not a big fan of this Venusaur card. It's too busy. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan. The card that I am a fan of, that is going to be the Blastoise EX. Now, the Blastoise card, honestly, is a beautiful card, and right now in this 151 boom, it is probably experiencing the biggest boom that we've seen. It's the biggest benefactor This card wouldn't cross over $100 prior, but now you're seeing the raw card or the PSA 9 card going for around 220. This could be due to market manipulations, but I think maybe people are realizing that this Blastoise is a fantastic looking Blastoise, and I'm almost positive a lot more people are using Squirtle and Blastoise in their Fire Red and Leaf Green remakes release. So I think there's a little connection there too. So once again, raw price for around $200. This card will go ahead, sell for, move around $600 as the 10. So there's a big significant difference. Whenever we're looking at the tag 10 gem rate, this card has a 30% chance of coming back as a 10. Pretty good odds. But honestly, the best part about this card, or that I saw in this situation as I was doing my research, is that there's only one card out of the five different Pokemons that we've talked about, or that we're talking about. Out of that five, there's only one pristine 10 copy, and Blastoise has it. And that's honestly amazing. With a less of a 1%, someone out there in the world has a tag 10 pristine Blastoise. And honestly, sir, I am so jealous. I hope you understand what you have. Because with the data that tag gives us, people can scan the QR code and that will see that is a one of one Blastoise. And if there's more that come, then if there's more that get graded, that is the number one pristine 10 ever graded. You can't really say much about that. So what does that mean? Number one pristine 10, a pristine 10. What does that mean value wise? Well, basically, pristine 10s go ahead and translate to black label value. So this $200 card and a black label can go upwards of $3,000. There is in no way, in any scenario, PSA can give you the same kind of profit margins. Why? Because PSA doesn't do any other grade higher than a PSA 10. There's no pristine 10. There's no 10.5. There's no ace. No nothing. Right? It's only a 10, and they can't give you any other, they won't give you any data to back it up. Tag will go ahead and give you the data letting you know that out of their 1000 point system, this card had less than 10 points of an error to make it a pristine 10. That is amazing, honestly. Then this is why I'm a big fan of tag, because the data, you can really dive into the world of collecting. And I'm telling you right now, people with big money will pay those big prices because they don't want their collection to look like anything like ours, like the common folks. People with real money will pay a premium for cards like that just so they can tell you that I have the best card. I got the first pristine 10. I got the only pristine 10. Bragging rights, egos will make people do decisions like that. So Blastoise, or that pristine 10 Blastoise, thank you for being the first one out of the 151. Honestly, I'm super happy about that. Now, the last card that we're going to go ahead and talk about, obviously, is going to be the Charizard EX. So, the Charizard EX right now is going for around $400 in a raw or in a 9. What does this mean whenever you get a 10? Well, if you manage to get it as a 10, it's going for around $1,400. That is over $1,000 difference potential gain that you have with this card. The best part about it, grading with tag, there's no upcharge to eat up those margins or to eat up that growth. They are doing exactly what they're supposed to do as a company. Hey, sir, here, can you grade my card? They grade it. Here you go, Jimmy. Here's your card. Do I need to give you extra money? This is a 10. No, we don't. You're good to go. We did my job. You go and enjoy your card, right? And I love that. I love that there is no upcharge. So why would you want to grade with anything other than tag? Like, what would you want to regrade with PSA for the potential of getting a 10? But you then have to give them more money to get your belongings back. That makes no sense to me, right? So back again, you have a $400 card that if it makes a 10, you can sell it for 1400. Now, what is the gem rate of this card? You have a 24% chance of getting this card back as a tag 10. So once you inspect for centering, edging, whitening, surface damage, print lines, anything like that, dents, then you have a 24% chance of making a $400 card into a $1,400 card with no upcharge. I mean, I don't know about you, but come on, like how much easier can it get? Anyways, so yeah, I mean, 151 is doing a generational run. If you have couple PSA 9 151 cards, consider this. Really consider this with this information. Maybe consider cracking those cards, finding a good way to crack them safe and sound, and then send them to tag. Now, do yourself a favor and do not grade bulk. Grade with 1,000 point system in there, because I feel like that is literally the only way that you can get a pristine 10. You can get a pristine 10, is by paying a little bit more. That option's available. Outside from that, you will never know. Like, because they won't give you that information back out of the 1,000 parts. That's the only shitty part I do see about Tag. It's their business decision. I feel like that's almost the equivalent of their upcharge, but this upcharge, it's up in front. But yeah, maybe consider really grading your PSA 9s into tags. Now, I already told you the gem rates. Mew has a 15% chance of hitting a 10. Therefore, I do see big growth potential with the Mew EX. Zapdos and Blastoise have the same gem rate. They're going around 30th and 29 respectively. And Blastoise right now is the only, and there's only one pristine 10. So maybe, if even if you have a PSA 10 or you have a good copy, consider grading with tags so you can get the first pristine Charizard EX, the first pristine Venusaur EX, Zapdos EX, or Mew EX. The pristine Mew EX, boy, that thing will go through the roof. If the Blastoise is gonna go for like around $3,000 to $4,000, I'm expecting the Mew EX to go over $5,000, closer to six, just because it's Mew, because it's a promo card and it's a perfect card. It is a black label equivalent Mew EX in a tag slab. Nothing's gonna beat that. I'm telling you, someone will pay that price. So that's what I'm saying. I'm a big advocate of maybe recracking your nines and sending them to tag. Outside from that, thank you for guys joining me tonight. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of you guys' evening or day, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.